Let's take a trip back in time to a year that honestly changed everything for our digital lives, 2025. It was a massive turning point for privacy, for freedom, for what it even means to be online.
And man, this quote just hits it right on the head, doesn't it? That feeling that the wild, kind of anonymous frontier of the early web, it was just gone. But how did we get there? How did it all fall apart so fast? Well, that's what we're going to break down. You see, in 2025, it's like the fundamental rules of the internet just got thrown out the window. Anonymity, which used to be a core feature, suddenly it was treated like a crime. The default setting of our lives just flipped from private to, well, wide open. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just one bad law or one bad company. It was more like a coordinated attack on our digital rights from all sides at once. A pincer movement using laws, tech infrastructure, and of course, getting corporations to play along. Okay, so it boiled down to this three-pronged attack. First, they went after our private messages with something called chat control. Then they came for who we are with a mandatory digital ID. And finally, they connected all the dots with a massive AI dragnet that just watched everything. Let's dig into each of these. The first piece of this puzzle, and this is the really sneaky part, came wrapped in a noble cause, protecting children. But the system they rolled out to do it completely demolished end-to-end encryption. The one thing that actually guarantees our digital conversations are private. Okay, look at this. It's a huge difference. On the left, that's how things used to work. Your message gets locked in a secure box on your device, then sent. But on the right, with client-side scanning, an AI literally reads your private message before the lock ever goes on. The whole idea of innocent until proven guilty got flipped on its head. Now you are suspicious by default. All right, piece number 2 of the attack, the mandatory central digital ID. This was sold to us as pure convenience, right? Just one easy way to log into your bank and your government services. But it quickly turned into the backbone of a surveillance system you just couldn't escape. And this is what that really meant for us. We all used to have different online lives, your work persona, your social life, your private forums, but this central ID just smashed them all together. Suddenly your browsing history, your health info, your social media, your bank details, all of it was linked to one single identity that the government could easily track. And this is where things get straight out of a dystopian sci-fi movie. The AI dragnet wasn't just about recording what you did, it was about predicting what you might do. Simple things like using a VPN to protect your privacy would suddenly get you flagged and add points to your risk score. And if that score got too high, you could be silently cut off from online banking or social media, all without a human ever looking at your case. It's insane. So all of this tech isn't just tech. It had a massive real-world impact on people, on our psychology. When you operate under the assumption that you are always being watched, you start to watch yourself. You start to self-censor. It's called the chilling effect. I mean, really ask yourself this. What happens when a journalist gets scared to research a powerful corporation? Or an activist is afraid to organize online? What happens when you're even afraid to Google a controversial topic because you don't know who's watching? Curiosity, the very thing that drives progress, it becomes a liability. And every single thing you did, every click, every search, every hesitant keystroke was logged and chained to that one single permanent digital you. We were all forced to live in these digital glass houses, building a permanent record of our lives that we could never, ever escape or erase. So yeah, by the middle of 2025, it felt pretty hopeless. The web was built on centralized systems, and that centralization made it so easy to capture. The very thing that was supposed to connect and empower us had been twisted into the most perfect machine for control ever invented. But right when things seemed like they couldn't get any darker, a counter-movement, a new way of thinking, really started to pick up steam. It was all built on one powerful idea. If this problem was created by technology, then maybe, just maybe, technology could be the solution. And this quote, this was basically the new rallying cry. The thinking was, look, asking the same governments and corporations that benefit from all this surveillance to please give us our privacy back, that's just a losing game. The only real answer was to build a new game, a new system. So, okay,
What are these tools for freedom? What do they actually do? Well, they focused on fixing the two biggest points of failure, our identity and the platforms where we communicate. It all starts with this huge concept called self-sovereign identity. Instead of getting an ID from the government that they control, this is an ID that you create, you own, and you control. It's designed to let you prove specific things, like say, I am over 21, without actually having to reveal your name, birthday, or anything else about yourself. And just look at the difference here, it's night and day. With the central ID, the government holds all the cards, and everything you do is linked and tracked. With a self-sovereign ID, you're in control. Your activity on different sites is impossible to link together by design, using some really cool crypto called zero-knowledge proofs. It's like being able to prove you have a key to a door without ever having to actually show the key to anyone. It's the perfect antidote. But look, having a private ID is only half the battle, right? I mean, where do we go to actually use it and talk to each other? That's the second piece of the puzzle, taking back our digital town squares from the big tech companies that control them. So this new model pops up, and it's a total game changer. It lets anyone, any community, launch their own social media platform. But here's the key. These platforms don't run on one company's giant server farm. They're decentralized, spread out, and governed by the users themselves. This architecture makes that kind of top-down corporate censorship incredibly difficult, basically by design. And that's what brings us to today. The whole ordeal of 2025 basically left us all standing at a crossroads. It forced us to make a choice, not just in theory but in practice, between two very, very different versions of the internet. And this is the most important thing to remember. The game isn't about begging for our privacy back anymore. The tools, the code, the infrastructure to build a private, sovereign, and free digital world, it's already here. It's built. We just have to make the choice to pick it up and use it. So that's the real question, isn't it? The one we all have to answer for ourselves. After that massive wake-up call in 2025, we know exactly what's at stake. We've seen the architecture of control, and now we've seen the architecture of freedom. The choice of which path we take, well, that's up to us.